Hello, and welcome to my course on the mathematics of casino games. This will be the first of many lectures. In this first part, I will be summarizing what to expect from this class as a whole. We'll go over what you need to know in order to get started, um, and we'll go over sort of the objectives, sort of the goals, and what I expect you to come out of this course learning. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Well, before we begin, let me talk a little bit about myself. Who am I and why am I qualified to teach this course? Well, first, a little bit about my education. I graduated in 2012 from UNLV in Las Vegas. I graduated with my master's degree in statistics. Immediately after graduation, I began my career in the gaming industry as a mathematician. So my first job was to analyze new casino games from basically every major game manufacturer and studio that existed at the time. And that's sort of the same path, and that's the path that my career led me. Over the last decade, I've worked for several companies as a mathematician, a game designer, and an independent consultant. I've worked for and with various studios all over the world, and it's been a very rich and satisfying and pretty lucrative career. If you'd like to know a little bit more about me, or if you'd like to connect, reach out to me. My LinkedIn is right here. I also have a website, soulcalc.com. Soulcalc is the name of my consulting business. You could go here for a little bit more information if you want to be, or if you want to know a little bit more about, my own insights into the design and mathematics of casino games. I also have a blog here, which I'll update from time to time. So go ahead and have a look, and like I said, connect and reach out if you so choose. Who is this course for? So the first group of people I had in mind when I designed this course is university students, say students in mathematics, physics, economics, computer science, basically any of the more mathematically analytic fields. And the reason why that group came to mind is because I was reflecting on my own time at university, and during that time I didn't see a career in casino gaming, specifically as a mathematician, as a viable option. It was just something that was never brought up to me. It wasn't until I graduated where it was presented, where it just kind of came up as something I could legitimately pursue. So I think this course could provide a valuable service to students. If you're a student right now watching this video, you're well ahead of where I was when I was in your shoes. So hopefully this course, can provide you some direction of what you want to do when you're done with school. And I think the material in this course could give you, a huge head start. Same for, people looking to make a second career, a switch. So just like students, if you have a more technical background and you're looking to make a switch, and this seemed like an interesting field to jump into, this is for you. And I want to say, to both, students and people looking for a second career, if you're looking to go into this and looking to make a career out of casino mathematics, I fully believe, you're looking at a great future. This is an industry that is always looking for mathematicians. There's hundreds, thousands of new casino games that are being developed every year, and for each one of those games, they need a mathematician to take a look at it and make sure the numbers check out. The final, group that I would say this course is geared for is current game designers and current mathematicians, not so much senior mathematicians, but maybe junior mathematicians who are just starting out. You don't necessarily have to learn everything, on the job. This course will give you a head start. And game designers, not all game designers are doing the mathematics for their games. A lot of the times game designers are, come up with the ideas for the games and then, put the team together and sort of lead the project from there. But if you're a mathematician or if you're a game designer who, wants to kind of get their hands dirty in the mathematics and try and build it themselves, then, this is for you. And for no matter who you are, however you stumbled on this course, whatever your goals are, I must say, I don't think the material that you'll see in this course is available, at least, publicly anywhere else. The casino gaming industry, it's very tight knit. It's a lot of the information is proprietary, and they like to, train, new mathematicians sort of in-house. So there's a lot of kind of on-the-job training that goes on. There's no university class for this. There's no, there's no vocational school for this. I don't even know of any textbooks or just books in general that'll go over this material. So this is a very unique set of material. So what will you need to know in order to be successful in this course? Or I wouldn't say successful, but get the most out of this course that you possibly can. If you want to move through the material, understand the material, I do expect that you have some, sort of basic knowledge of probability. Do you know what a probability is? Do you know what odds are? Do you know what expected value is? Standard deviation? Do you know, sort of what those terms mean at the very least? If it's maybe been a while or you're not totally 100% sure what those are, don't worry. My next lecture will be a refresher course going over, all these concepts. And if you're not totally sure that you're comfortable with probability, I would recommend taking a look at that next lecture first when I go over the probability material, seeing how you feel about it, seeing if you're comfortable with it. If it goes completely over your head, this course probably is not for you, but if you can get through it, if you feel comfortable with it, then you're in the right place. Second thing you need for this course is a spreadsheet program. I use Excel. Google Sheets could also work. I think it has all the same functionality that Excel has, and Google Sheets is free. I prefer Excel because it's faster. Google Sheets, it's a little laggy. It's a web-based app, so the performance isn't quite there. But for the purposes of this course, it'll get the job done. What I will not require for this course is any previous programming experience. We won't be doing any programming here. As a mathematician in the gaming industry, you probably will need to program from time to time. What kind of programming? Typically, it's scripting, running simulations of games, running hundreds of millions of simulations of a game. That's not something we're going to cover here. On the job, I only program occasionally. I would say for most games can be, solved purely in Excel, and you're going to need to know how to solve games in Excel. And what you learn solving those games in Excel can absolutely carry over into running simulations for those games. But that's, like I said, not something that's going to be stressed here. Maybe something I'll touch on at the end of the course, but I won't dive too deeply into it, maybe in a separate course down the road. So now let's get into what we'll actually be doing in this course. The learning objective of this course is to be able to teach you how to mathematically analyze casino games. So what does it mean to mathematically analyze a casino game? Well, what you'll be doing is you'll be trying to figure out, okay, if I give you a game, how much on average is it going to pay out? How much is the player going to get back every time the player sits down to play? That's most of what you'll be doing. You'll also be figuring out, okay, what are the odds of a certain jackpot? What's the overall volatility of the game? So those are some other things that we'll go over, but mostly it's, solving the average payout. And what we'll be doing is we'll be focusing on slot games. You may be asking yourself, okay, well, there's not just slot games at a casino. There's blackjack, video poker, bingo, roulette, keno, baccarat, pai craps, sickbo, sports betting, red dog, casino war, yada, yada, yada. The list goes on. Why is there not as much of an emphasis on these games? In fact, we won't be doing blackjack. We won't be doing video poker. The reason for that is, well, every year the industry pumps out hundreds, thousands of new slot games, and that is what you'll probably be doing as a mathematician. Compare that to blackjack. Blackjack, well, there's no new versions of blackjack coming out. Those games have basically already been solved. Maybe every once in a while they'll come up with some variant of blackjack, but those situations are few and far in between. So that's one reason. Another reason is complexity. Blackjack and video poker, those are surprisingly complex games to mathematically analyze. On the surface, they seem kind of simple compared to, some of the slots you might see out there, but analyzing these games mathematically, that can be a course in and of itself. All these other games, bingo and keno, these games are pretty simple. If you can figure out how to do slots, you can probably figure out how to do the rest of these games. But in either case, we're focusing on slots, and the concepts we're going to learn solving slots, they will absolutely carry over to the rest of these games. But just not doing, blackjack and video poker for, sanity's sake. Oh, and if you do want to know more about these games, the mathematical analysis of these games, here's a great resource. Wizardofodds.com, I use it all the time, has, a breakdown mathematically of basically all these games. So go ahead and check it out. So before moving on, I would like to give you sort of a bird's eye view of the entire casino gaming industry and how you'll fit into this whole ecosystem. As a mathematician, who you'll be working for is a game studio. Typically, they're part of a casino gaming manufacturer, not always. There are many independent game studios out there. But this is who you'll probably be working for or working with if, say, you're an independent consultant. Unlike say in the AAA gaming industry, EA, Ubisoft, where they make games for the player. Casino gaming industry, it's a little bit different. Your first customer is not the player. Your customer is actually the operator. You're making games for the casinos. You're not making games for the player. Well, indirectly you are, but directly, this is who you're targeting. How does that kind of change the decision making of the game studio? Well, if as a game studio, if you're making games for the player, how much would your games pay out? The player would always win, basically. But since that's not your audience, since your audience is the casino, if the player always won, this casino wouldn't exist. It wouldn't have that zigzag carpet. It wouldn't have these fancy lights. It wouldn't have that nightclub up on the second floor. Winners do not pay the bills at the casino. So your job as a mathematician is to ensure that, okay, there's some winners, but in the long run, it's the casino that's going to be making the money. Studios provide games to casinos, and then the casinos allow access to these games to the player. and that's who they collect their revenue from, and that revenue allows the casino to pay for more games from the studio. Better the games, the more players actually sit down and play those games and lose at those games, the more games that the casino is going to buy from the studio. So that is where you'll fit in, is in the studio part. And these are not the only 3 players or units in the casino gaming industry. There's also regulators, third-party testers. So I actually, when I started out in the industry, I did not work for a game studio. I wasn't an independent consultant for a studio. I worked for what's called a third-party tester. And they're kind of a step between the studio and the operator. Operators, they typically want some insurance from an independent party to ensure that the games pay out exactly what the studios say they'll pay out. So if a studio says, hey, trust us, this game pays 90 cents on the dollar, the operators will typically say, okay, we want a third-party lab to independently certify that your results are accurate. Maybe a casino actually doesn't care. Maybe a casino would take their word for it, but regulations in almost every jurisdiction worldwide require some kind of third-party lab independently verify a studio's results. So that's where I started, and not included here, but for the most part, most people work with studios. Okay, so that wraps up the first lecture in this series, and I already have an assignment for you. What I would like to do is I would like to get you familiar with slot games. If you're going to be mathematically analyzing these games, you might as well be comfortable playing these, understanding these, and that's exactly what I'd like you to do. So the best way to play these games is go to the casino and lose a bunch of money at these games. I'm not going to have you do that. There's a much cheaper, easier way of doing that. I've listed 3 apps here. Cashman Slots. These are Aristocrat games. Aristocrat, one of the major manufacturers and developers of casino games. Goldfish Slots, mostly games that come from Scientific Games, and then there's Double Down Casino, mostly IGT games. So these are sort of the big 3 studios. And what I would like you to do is I'd like you to download these apps, and they're free to play. I'd like you to just kind of browse through them. In each of these apps, just pick one game that catches your eye. It doesn't matter what it is, just if you see a game, you look at the art for it and say, oh, that looks interesting, maybe I'll check this out. Give it a play. Just 10 minutes. Play it min bet. These are free to play games, so you're given credits, and eventually you'll run out of credits. But if you play min bet, you should be able to play for well over 10 minutes for any game you decide. And after playing each game, I want you to write down your answers to this list of questions. What's the name of the game you played, first off? What attracted you to this game? What do you think this game popped out? Why do you think you picked this one over the dozens of other games on the app? Try to think of 2 things you liked about the game while you're playing it, 2 things you didn't like. Finally, if there's something you would change about the game, what would it be? So all these questions are designed to get you thinking more critically about these games and to get you more engaged in these games. And if you're not just zoning out while playing these games, if you're thinking about these questions in the back of your head, you're going to be more engaged. You're going to think more critically, and this will go a long way towards helping you understand these games, and it'll get you more motivated to think about material as we move along through this course. So that wraps up the first lecture. Go ahead and get playing, and I'll see you in the next lecture.